Here's the third of Altice Recercadas on the chanson Doulce Memoire. This is another one for the bass viol, decorating the bass part. Just one thing to tell you about before we start in bar 3, the C's here, these are sharpened because there is a C sharp in the soprano part at the time. It's not marked in the edition that I've given you a link to. So I think it's worth penciling in. We're going to try C sharps out in bar 3. Here we go from the top then. I'm going to play this in half position. I like having those, the D and the F, on adjacent strings rather than coming onto the C string. A matter of personal taste, but that's my choice. Half position and across 2 strings. So from the top, 3, 4. We'll just stop there because it's a convenient first phrase. So things to think about. Bowing wise here, you've got 2 choices. I think it's too long to play all of those quavers backwards. So you either start the bottom D on a back bow and then just surreptitiously tuck the first quaver in. That's option 1. Or 2 forward bows in a row. So the middle D comes out on a forward. It only needs to be tiny and quite a weak note, I think. So you don't need to use loads of bow. Plenty of space to put another forward bow on the bottom. I think that's my preference. One tiny bit of fingering in here. This again is a personal taste thing. I think I'm not a big fan of crossing strings for single quavers, so I'm looking at bar 5 and I'm going to play that E on the C string and the last E of the bar as well. And then I might just slur the first pair of quavers here. I'm also, fingering wise, going to put them all on one string rather than crossing up to the C string just for one of them. Shall we do that again then from the top? 3, 4. I would retake the bow. We'll stop there. It's hard to stop, isn't it, once you get going? You find yourself 3 or 4 lines down the page before you can conveniently come to a rest. So bar 7, I think there's plenty of time at the end of 6 to take a breath, resort your bow out and start forwards again. If we start the top G in the middle of 7 on another forward bow, it's a nice thing to do, but also it sorts us out quite well for the next little bit. So that is the middle of 7, just 2 forward bows in a row. I'm stopping quite a lot of the E's in bar 8. In fact, all the E's in bar 8 and 9. Might have been better to put a 3 on the F at the bottom, and then it wouldn't be quite so far to go. Doesn't matter. Whatever fingering you use there, the thing that matters most is that you don't let go of the bottom F. So whatever finger you've got on it, leave it there. If you're in half position, you're quite likely to end up with an open A string, which I think is okay. It's the top of the arch, or if you want all on one bottom, and then you're in the right position, i.e. you're in first but kind of reaching back. What did I do in there? I did a couple of things. One was at the end of 11, I made sure I was in first position and I played that C with a full finger. And then I tucked the next quaver in because the dotted crotchet C comes on a back bow. And it sorts of bowing out nicely if you just tuck that one in bar 12 right at the beginning. Let's play from 7 and play together. 3, 4. Let's go on. We're going to stop there, otherwise once again we're going to end up 20 bars on without having paused. There's a bowing thing to think about here. So at the end of 13, I started the first tied A on a forward bow. I think it's worth doing for that one, but then playing straight through and not putting any other tucks in for the next whole section. I think it's too fiddly to start all of those on forward bows. A, it just sounds like you've got hiccups, and B, you're going to gradually work your way through the bow because all of the dotted crotchets or tied crotchets to quavers are going to come on a forward bow. Few quavers and then another long bow that way. So I just think it makes it really awkward. If you start at the end of 13 forward, and then this one comes back, forward, back, forward, and then this one, which sets up 2 whole bars of quavers after that, everything else comes the right way round. So if you make that one correction at the end of 13, it sorts you out for the foreseeable future. Fingering wise, and I'm putting the E at the end of, at the start of 14, sorry, on the C string. So I'm in first position. It means I can play the C with my 4th finger. So I'm just looking for ways of keeping things a little bit tidy so we don't get it's just it's too lumpy, isn't it? We're looking for ways of just smoothing out. It comes in such little sections that it is a kind of choppy little bit where it's lots of little phrases, but I think within those phrases it's worth not making them choppy within themselves. So I'm stopping this, stopping the C, 4 to 1 between the A and the D, and then staying on the C string in bar 15. So just fingering it so that we're not ending up with one note and then having to cross dozens of strings to get back down to where we started. Shall we try that together? This is the end of 13, so we're in after the 3rd beat. 1, 2, 3. Maybe an open string here. Sorry, shouldn't have stopped. Does that make sense? So the one that had had some kind of length to it and a more melodic feel, and wasn't the end of something like that. This is the end of 17. I think it's worth a risk. Open A string, possibly, as you wish, but I think those are the sorts of considerations that we're thinking about. This is 18. I would keep this on one string, and this, and this, and there we are. Shall we do it once again from the end of 13 after 3? 1, 2, 3. Stop at the bottom. So in 20, I've started that top A on another forward bow after the bottom. I think the bottom note shouldn't take loads of bows, so it's not a question of retaking, it's a question of just getting from the bottom string round to the A and then carrying on going. I think there's plenty of time for that in there if you leave that bottom note early. And I think it's worth doing it here as well. That's the second crotchet of 21, and it's the same principle. Leave the bottom G early, let the resonance sort of carry you through. Buys you some time to get up to the top one. Shouldn't have used lots of bow, so you've got plenty still to go. Whoops, sorry. Now I think I might slur this pair. Otherwise we're just backwards for too long. So that was the first pair of quavers in 22. I just slurred the C to the D. I think I play this C with a 4, and this E stopped on the C string. That E also stopped on the C string. That's the last two. Actually, it's going to be both E's in the last 4 quavers of 26. So from the dotted crotchet E, if we're in first position, 1 on the A, 3, 4. Shall we play that? This is from 20. I wonder actually, let's go from the last 4 quavers of 19. So we get into the habit of just practicing that almighty string cross in 20 with 2 forward bows in a row. This is the last 4 quavers of 19. 1, 2, 3. Just stopping there a minute, I realise I didn't tell you about bar 30. The first B in that bar needs to be flat, but then natural. It's just to fit with the 3 parts of the chanson that are above it. So the first B in 30 we're going to flatten, but the rest of that bar will play B naturals. In 28, fingering wise, I think it's maybe worth having the A a 4, a good quality F, so a half position F. Certainly for me that F is just so weak, so this one. But then I'd be back in first position and I'd play the end of 30 with 3 and 4 and the octave leap. In 31 we're nicely set up for I'm stopping some of these E's, so 32. This one, having made it to the C string, let's stay there. Should we stop there a second and just cover some of that? Bowing wise, there are lots of places in here where you think, oh, I'm backwards, shall I do something about it? And it's one of those where as soon as you make a correction, 3, 4, 5 notes later, you're backwards again. So I just think it's such a non-stop piece. It just flows and flows and flows on, that when you put tucks and double forward bows and things in, I think there are places where you really do need to do it. But if you do it too frequently, it just starts to interfere. So there are lots of times where I think it just isn't worth it. So we're going to play from 26, starting on the dotted crotches, and we're just going to bow everything out and see what happens. No tucks, no corrections, no slurs, no nothing, for dozens of bars, and let's just see what happens. This is 26 from the second beat of the bar, the dotted crotchet E, and 1. Do you see what I mean about every time you think, oh, that would be really nice on a forward bow? If you correct it for the 1, you're just reverting to being the wrong way round really, really quickly. So I would just bow all of that section through. I'd make the most of some of these coming on back bows and make the most of some of them coming forward, and just shape them, use plenty of bow. Don't be afraid to travel through, because with the way things reverse out, you're bound to be able to get back kind of shortly afterwards. So there's no need to sort of panic and think, I don't want to use too much bow because I'm going to work my way down and then I'll be stuck. You never go very long in one direction before you've got an opportunity to come back again. So just bow it freely and let's not bother with any corrections. We'll do the same thing once more. This is 26 from the second beat of the bar. 26 and 1. Going on. We're just going to stop there a second. So 35, sorry, comes out on forward bow. Having had, I played an open string on 35. Could have done it again here. I think that would be fine. I think it would also be fine to have that one open and this one stopped. I wouldn't bother correcting the bowing in here, because here it's really nice to have a forward bow on this. about the semiquavers. So the end of 39 comes on a forward bow, which is very nice for this. Forward bow, and then just tiny little semiquavers. Definitely worth having those on one string rather than one semiquaver A to start, and it's just ridiculous, but we'll put it all on one string. Maybe an open here. The second one comes out bowed backwards with this on a forward, and then there's not a lot you can do about it, and I think it's fine. Enjoy that one. It's completely fine. They're just little and near the tip. Shall we just practice before we stitch it together? Let's just do this from that last minim of 39. It's going to be a forward bow. Might just go slightly under speed. Last minim of 39. 1, 2, 3. 4, 1. Just keep them very, very relaxed here. No, and they just need to be little. They need to be nothing too dramatic. Don't make it sound as though somebody's just let off a shotgun. Yeah, just a bit too energetic. Make them very relaxed and very unobtrusive, if that's possible. Last minim of 39 once more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And let's stitch some of that together. We'll go back to 35, which is a forward bow, and I think probably an open string. 35, 3, 4, 1, so bad, was it? Just don't let yourself look ahead. Don't panic. The worst thing you can do in semiquavers is see them coming and start panicking a bar and a half beforehand. Just let it happen. Take yourself by surprise and it will probably be seamless. A couple of things to think about from 42. Which way round is this going to come? Downbeat to 42 is a back bow, so we start. And it works very nicely bowing wise. Lots and lots of places in there. This is 44 and 45. Once you make it to the bottom F, do keep it down. You just need to keep going back to it, so you may as well leave it there. And here. Really nice, nice hand shape. It's good when you're down on these bottom strings. It's quite, should be quite reassuring to leave something down and use it as a kind of geographical reference point for finding your way around these bottom strings. Let's go from 42. 42, we're going to go after the first crotchet, so we'll start on the tie G at the start of 42. And 1. So in this next bit, you've got to decide, are you bored of the A string yet? Obviously I'm exaggerating, but there's a decision to be made about how many of those you stick on open strings. How many of them do you cover? Do you do all of them one way? Do you do the whole of the first set, so from 47, maybe with open strings? And then maybe the second set, a bit more covered? Or do you go the other way round? Do we... Does it not matter? Is it easier from the very bottom string in 46? Does it make any difference whether you head for the open A string or whether you head for a fourth finger? Are you more accurate aiming for the open string? Are you more accurate making the string cross smaller and going for a fourth finger? I'm asking lots of questions and deliberately not answering any of them. I think it's entirely fine for you to experiment. It's another one of those places where you have to just make some decisions, otherwise every time you get there you're going to think, oh, which one was I going to go for? And then you'll end up just not quite sure, your bow will be not quite sure which string it's aiming for. So make some decisions, but no right or wrong answers in there, I don't think. Just entirely down to your own choice and your own taste. Let's play it together from... let's go from 45. So we're enjoying keeping the second finger down on the F at the bottom of here, and then make your choices about the A's, open strings or fours in that next bit. 45, 3, 4. Let's go on. It's such a fancy ending, isn't it, when you think what's in the original? There are whole communal rests in there. You know, while the top part finishes its final D for half an hour at the end, and the bottom three parts have a rest and then move together. In this Recercada, he's knitted all the way through those rests in the bass part. It's a really different way of approaching things. Shall we play from 48, 49? Looking at 50, if you start on a forward bow after the rest, lots of this just comes out really nicely. Fingering wise, make sure you're in first position here. This is 54, so that you can get, you've got enough fingers to play the C. I'm going for half position here, because as you know by now, I much prefer that F. But I'm back in first in 55. Doesn't really matter where you go, but I'm going to stop that G. Having moved over to play the F, I'm going to stay there. So the last G of 55 with my fourth finger. But this one, because it's longer, I'm going to come back for. And this fits with the tenor part when we play it through with the chanson. It's a very odd ending that you catch the tenor line. So just listen out for it when we come to string it together. Let's just play from 50 after the rest on a forward bow. 1, 2. with the other parts of the chanson. 2 bars in from the metronome then, and I'll see you at the end. And as before, I'm going to leave you with a recording just of the top 3 parts so that you can put in the bass.